Good evening, everybody. It's Handsome Dick Manitoba time. I'm going to talk about the UFC. I forgot if it was called 244 or 245 last night. But I love the UFC. Every week, me and my kid Jake go up to this really cool Irish barn near Central Park South, and they hold a little table for us right across a 42-inch screen about 8 feet away from us. They're really great people. And we, once a month, it's like we get out of the neighborhood and we go watch the fights. I grew up on boxing. I got nothing against boxing. I have some really good friends in boxing. One used to be the commissioner of New York State Boxing. Jerry Cooney's a great guy. Lou DiBella is a great guy. Anyway, it's not like I started hating boxing. It's not like that. It's just like I fell in love with UFC. I saw the early days, like the first bunch of matches. And then I sort of went in and out of it. And then it hit me. It hit me, and it hit me hard. And I've been a big fan ever since. One of the things I love about it so much is like, in just 1 second, everything can change. After it goes all one way in 1 second. I mean, baseball, you could say, "Whoa, they were winning the whole game, and then he hit a home run." It's different with this. It's just different. And a lot of people give me shit. They don't consider it a sport. They say it's brutal. But football's okay. Well, the idea of football is not to hurt people. Oh, no. The idea of football is not to hurt people. It's just to be 6'6", 335 pounds, run as fast as you can, grab a guy who weighs 210 pounds, and throw him down to the ground as hard as you can, even with a helmet on. And that's why this billion-dollar industry known as football is hiding from the fact that there's so many damn concussions and, I think, pre-Alzheimer's from getting smashed for years and years and years and years. Look, the idea is not to grab the man and place him gently upon the ground, okay? It's to fucking crush him without trying to hurt him. Well, there are fighters that fight. They don't want to ruin the guy's career. They don't want to hurt some kid's father, but they fight. They like to fight. They like to fight. There's different types of men in this world. Some of my cop friends, they'd like to ride around in a car for 20 years and retire. They don't want to deal with anything bigger than that. That's okay. I respect them. I love them. Then there's guys who want, to stand with M4s just in case there's anybody want to blow shit up. And these are like some serious dudes. They want the action. They want that action. So they go for that. These guys, if you listen to them, these are grown men. It's like you can't tell a woman what to do. You can't tell a man who... And the women fighters are amazing in the UFC. These guys go, I love to fight. That's what they like to do. I don't. They do. Let them do it. I like to watch them. I'm going to do this tonight a little on YouTube. And then I'm going to go over and lay something down in this subject area on my podcast. You Don't Know Dick, it's called. You Don't Know Dick. You can go to Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/Handsome Dick Manitoba. But if you want to go somewhere where you can get everything you need from me, go to, you remember? It's easy. HandsomeDickManitoba.com. That's it. I do get into arguments, okay, about what an athlete is. Like, these guys are just animals. They have wrestling. They study wrestling. They study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They study Muay Thai, elbows, knees, kicks, punches. They study boxing and Sambo, Russian martial arts, and karate and many other martial arts. They're talented fighters. Some more talented than others, just like baseball players. Some baseball players are 5-tool players. Some are 3-tool players. Mike Trout can throw like a motherfucker, can catch like a motherfucker, can run like a motherfucker, can hit like a motherfucker for power and average. That's a 5-tool player. He'd be like a 5-tool fighter. That's what I'm talking about. But people used to say, they still say to me, yeah, but those are animals. They're just smashing each other and smashing it. Usually, a guy gets smashed a certain amount of time. There's a referee right on top of it and stopping it as quick as possible. It reminds me of an old argument people used to say, like David Wells was a big fella, right? He's a big fella, big bone, as Eric Cartman would say. I'm not fat, I'm big bone, and people would look at him and say, like, that's not an athlete, like you know. Soccer players are athletes. Hey, soccer players are amazing. Their cardio is off the charts. They could run back and forth for an hour and a half and control a ball with their feet, like with their hands. You know, but they don't use their hands, of course. It's a brilliant game. You don't use your hands. So the soccer guy's a great athlete, right? David Wells could not go on a soccer field and play soccer, right? Right. Give me one soccer player in the world, okay, like Fat David Wells. Give me one soccer player in the world that can stand 60 feet away and 6 inches from a plate and throw in a little square box, rectangular box, from the breastbone down to the knees, theoretically, side to side. That little box, let's see him stand on a little mound 60 feet away and 100 times, throw 3 different or 4 different kinds of pitches at 90 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour, 83 miles an hour, 92 miles an hour, and fool batters. Let's see any soccer player in the world do that. Just like David Wells couldn't do what soccer players do. There's not one soccer player in the fucking world that can stand there and throw 100 pitches in a box that spin and twist and dive and go just straight up fast. Couldn't do it. Oh, baseball's not a sport? There's different guys. Center fielders are amazing athletes. Shortstops are like ballet dancers. Get the fuck out of here with your fucking soccer and the UFC, snobby bastards. Fucking football's dangerous as hell. UFC is not any more dangerous than football. Boxing. I grew up, there was 15 rounds. In the turn of the century, it was probably like 115 rounds. They like fought for like 6 hours till somebody died. And they went down to 12 rounds to make it more, humane. Okay. That's enough about the general sport. I love it. I love it. And, listen, I love baseball. I love girls and sex and food and rock and roll. I love my son. And these are the things I love in life. And the most things. These are the things that really make me happy to be on the planet. So I'm going to go over the fights a little. I didn't see all the fights. I saw a bunch of them. And I have mixed feelings about the card. People are saying it's the greatest card ever. On paper, as it was unfolding, it looked like one of the great cards. Excuse me, I'm slipping away here. Yeah, I made myself taller. Is that better? How about that chest hair, girls? So, I have mixed feelings. So I was split down the middle. I was like, this is going to be the greatest card ever. And then when I was finished, it was like, great, 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 It was like that. So the ones I saw, and the only one I read about that I didn't see, which is ridiculous, was a Arlovsky heavyweight got KO'd in 29 seconds of the first round. He was a former heavyweight champion, and I read somewhere that he wanted, I don't know how old he is, he's got to be like 35. I read somewhere he wanted to fight 3 or 4 more years. And He used to be a motherfucker, Arlovsky. Fast as hell with his hands. But I guess I think he's in his mid-30s, and he gets knocked out in 29 seconds of the first round. It's not necessarily a lucky punch. I mean, the idea is he got knocked out in the first round. 4 more years. And he's years past his prime. Maybe he's really broke. It's sad when it gets like that. But that's the fight I didn't see. That was the prelim. Shane Burgos versus, how do you pronounce this? Makwan. Oh, forget it. I'm never going to pronounce it. Let me see. Namakami, I think. I can't pronounce it. Makwan Namakami. Shane Burgos. And what I liked about Shane Burgos is he's from the Bronx. BX, Boogie Down, yo, that's where I am. Dick Manitoba from the Bronx. And this guy took it to Burgos. He was taking it to him. And he was taking it to him, but Burgos was a bad motherfucker. He was just, holding his own, taking the shots. And then Burgos came up heavy, man. Burgos came up heavy. And he winds up TKOing this guy. And that was a good undercard fight. When you have a fight that's like, kind of close, but one guy's definitely beating the other. And then the guy who was kind of winning the fight slows down. And Burgos comes up and TKOs him. That was a good fight. Undercard. Next one was huge. Absolutely huge. And this is what I mean by I adore this fucking sport. There is guys who look, he's going to come up and he's going to beat John Bones Jones, my favorite fighter. He's going to beat John Jones. There's all these guys that are going to beat John Jones, right? They got this Spanish kid who knocked out the former middleweight champ. Big deal. The guys, everyone, you know what everyone's saying? Dana White included. He knocked out a champion. He's a light heavyweight. He knocked out a middleweight champion who's lost like 3 out of his last 4 fights, who moved up to light heavyweight. He knocked out the champion. They kept saying that. It was pissing me off. He knocked out a former middleweight champion who's lost a few fights and is now a mediocre to poor light heavyweight. And he's ready to fight John Jones. Now, this guy could hit. The Spanish kid. And they're going to match him up with John Jones. Let's see what happens. Been a lot of guys, they say, are going to beat John Jones. Like Jake, my son Jake says, John Jones ain't going to be sitting on his couch eating potato chips. He's going to be looking at tapes. He's going to be watching how this guy fights. He's going to be watching for his, soft points, soft spots. All right, we move up. And the one I'm talking to now is in the light heavyweight division is Corey Anderson versus Johnny Walker. This was my favorite fight of the night. And Johnny Walker was like they were making a god out of him. See, that's what happens. I've seen that happen in boxing, and then a guy win 12 fights in a row and then get taken to school. Johnny Walker is 6'5", Brazilian, 204 pounds, 82-inch reach, 6'5". Every fight he fought, he's only fought 3 in the UFC, ended in under 2 minutes. His kicks are absolutely deadly. It's like all 4 of his limbs will kill you if they hit you. Any punch, any kick, elbow. The guy looked, wow. He could stand eye to eye to John Jones and throw bombs after bombs after bombs. And he's very young. I think he's 27. So he fights this guy, Corey Anderson, who's supposed to be very good. But he doesn't have the rep. He doesn't have the, people aren't talking about Corey Anderson. He just doesn't have the personality or whatever it is. They're not talking about him like they're talking about Johnny Walker. TKO, 207, first round, Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson stepped to Johnny Walker, threw bombs, and landed bombs. This is a big, strong dude, Corey Anderson. He stepped right to him, was not afraid of him, avoided what Walker had to throw, and got inside and threw bombs and landed bombs and hit him enough times in the jaw and the face that the referee stopped the fight. Johnny Walker got his ass kicked. And what bothered me after the fight was they still didn't give Corey Anderson his dues. The president, Dana, well, you know, he said he's going to leave the company. He did say that. He's going to leave the company if he doesn't get a shot at the title. And, you know, Dana was like, no. The other guy's getting the shot at the title first. And, you know, maybe he's right. He shouldn't tell the boss, I have to get a shot at the title. But he just beat the Wonder Boy. But he was number 12 or something. That's why they put him down. And everybody was still going, you know what? Johnny Walker, he fools around a lot. He's got to come in serious. Corey Anderson came in serious. Fuck you. Bullshit. 2 men came into the octagon. One knocked the other one out. Stop making excuses. Oh, he's fooling around. He didn't think it was serious. Bullshit. Corey Anderson kicked Johnny Walker's ass. It was the best fight of the night. Then you got a guy named Kevin Lee. I'm not a big fan of Kevin Lee's. All right, he's the Detroit whatever the fuck they call him, his nickname. You know, the Detroit assassin or something. He's not. He beats who he's supposed to beat, and he gets his ass kicked by who he's supposed to get his ass kicked by, which makes him mediocre. Very athletic, very talented, very mediocre. And Detroit's a badass town. So if you're going to be the badass guy from Detroit, you better kick ass on guys. Every guy. Not just guys you're supposed to kick ass on. Kick ass on. I guess that's right. Gregor Gillespie. He KO'd him in 2 minutes and 47 seconds of the first round. So he beat a fucking tomato can, as they say in boxing. This fight was one of my favorite, just in terms of the surrounding situation of Derek Lewis against Blagor Ivanov. And Derek Lewis is a big black guy with a nice belly on him. I mean, these are like, some of these heavyweights are just, you know, fat. And Derek Lewis is a big fat guy. But what's really cool about Derek Lewis is he's charming. He's lovable. Who else would... He would get his ass kicked for a whole fight and then for one punch, and the guy would be like this, and then he throws 10 more punches and the fight's over. That's what and people love Derek Lewis for that. You know, they chant like in the WWE, USA, USA, Derek Lewis. But what makes him lovable, especially my son Jake, 16 years old, is one fight, you know, the boxers wear tight undergarments, and then they wear their trunks over. So he's pulling his trunks down as he's being interviewed. And the guy's going, what are you doing? He goes, my balls is hot. So he actually says, it's sweaty or hot. He goes, my balls is sweaty. And he says that. And how do you not love that guy? It's hysterical. He just does that on TV in the middle of an interview. So he's fought a bunch of guys. I mean, he got beat up. He lost to like the big guys, but you know, he beat up a lot of guys. A lot of guys. A tough son of a bitch, Derek Lewis. And it was a split decision. And actually, I clearly had Blagor Ivanov winning. And I love Derek Lewis. So it wasn't, you know, I'm not rooting. I have rooting interest, but if I'm going to talk to you, I'll be honest about what I think happened. I think Blagor Ivanov, it was like a really close fight. I could see a split decision in Blagor Ivanov's way, or maybe a unanimous decision, but like, you know, one round, just minimum unanimous. They gave a split decision to Derek Lewis. I thought it was just like, you know, he's got a bigger name. He's worth more to us. That's how it felt to me. The surrounding things I'm talking about is the camera goes to the President of the United States, Trumpy. Trumpy was there in the middle of Madison Square Garden. Jake and me are heading up to Midtown, and we start seeing hundreds and hundreds of cops, helicopters, and we start realizing homeboy's in town. So he's sitting in the middle of Madison Square Garden, and people are yelling, USA, USA. Derek Lewis. And I'm sitting here thinking, Blegor Ivanov, a Russian, maybe a friend. I wonder who Trump is rooting for. I stopped and told that to about 5 cops on the way home. It was pretty funny. You should see the shit they had around there. Folks from outside of New York, around Trump Tower, it's insane. I would say maybe 1,000 cops in a 20-block area. I mean, it went down like 20 blocks and went on the side like 10 blocks. It was insane. You had garbage trucks blocking streets, huge garbage trucks. You had command centers. You had helicopters. You had machine guns. I mean, it was fucking Afghanistan, New York, Afghanistan. This one sucked. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, Vincente Luque, I think, Luque. It's either Luke, I would say Luque. Okay? Unanimous decision for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who just bores me to death. You know, he just does this karate side kick. He stands on this, the side so he can throw his kick. He has long arms, a very long guy. He has long arms, long legs, and he keeps people at bay with his punches, but more often his kicks. And he's fighting this guy. It was just, as we're watching the fight, we're going, this is the most boring fight of the night. It just was. It was just like nobody was really getting the best of each other. Nobody was like imposing their will, obviously, or taking over the ring generalship. See, it was up to me. And of course it should be. I would have a lot more draws. That sounded terrible. That would be a draw. Boring fight where no one obviously wins. Split decisions. Split decisions should be draws. You either have a unanimous decision where somebody clearly won, even by a little, but they clearly won, or it's a draw. Split decision is like, he won by a little. Well, he won by a little. Oh, I think the other guy won. Bullshit. Split decisions are like bullshit. The next fight was another fucking bore. Till against Gastelum. Guess what? Guess what it was? I'll give you one guess. You're right. It was a split motherfucking decision. Gastelum can fight. He's tough. He's kind of little. Lengthwise. Middleweight division. And Till is long. And Till can punch. And Gastelum can punch. So I was like, all right. The second fight of the evening after the main fight. 2 guys who can really punch. This is no one. I kept saying to my son, Jake, no one's going to go past 2 rounds. And it was boring. Nobody took over the control the octagon. Nobody really imposed the will on the other person. Nobody did damage. Guess what? It should have been a draw. It was a split decision. And then people just kept talking about Till and how he's just going to come up and up and up. I don't think so. I think they're wrong. I'm not impressed. Jorge Masvidal against Nate Diaz. Jorge, I just became familiar with in the last year or so, and he's a really good athlete. He's really tough. I heard that he got much more focused lately because of so many, guess what? Split decisions. He got tired of the judges deciding his life after he busted his ass. So he decided he's not going to be so cautious, and he's going to bust his ass more and faster and take over the fight. He's going to impose his will more, so that impresses the judges more, and maybe he'll even win more fights without the friggin' judges. Well, that's what happened last night. He fought Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is probably one of my 5 favorites. You know, you pick who you like, all right? I love his personality. I love his style. I just love the way he does everything. His interviews, the way he fights, the way he taunts people, the way he gives people the finger, the way he's a great Brazilian black belt, jiu-jitsu, Gracie black belt. And I was really looking forward to this fight, and me and Jake were really rooting for Diaz. I mean, I don't not like Masvidal. I just love Diaz. And Masvidal kicked his ass. He was kicking his ass. He was taking the fight to him. He was hurting him. He was bloodying him up. He was elbowing him on the ropes. The 1 or 2 times that we were praying that Nate would get him down and get him in a BJJ hold, finishing hold, it looked like it might start to happen, but he got out of it. I guess he was just so ready for it. But we started seeing him get, to me, it looked like he was getting a little tired going into the 4th round. And then the doctor comes in the ring, and he looks at this over Nate. Nate's all fucking, you touch him, he bleeds. His skin is all, you know, what do they call it? Scar tissue. So you touch him, he bleeds. And they said, according to the president of the company, that the top of his eyebrow was flapped over. Sounds nice, doesn't it? It's not an evil sport. It was flapped over, and he had a cut under his eye. And then I listened to 3 or 4 professionals who've been fighting 8, 10, 12 years and have fought dozens and dozens and dozens of fights. And they were like, you know, I've seen worse blood. It wasn't in his eye. I've seen worse injuries. Nate is a monster in the 4th and 5th round. He comes at you, and he's still throwing and still throwing. And the other guy was getting a little, Masvidal, to me, he looked a little bit more tired than he was the first 3 rounds. And if you have a Nate coming at you strong, another round or 2, might be something. So what happens is good old Doc Stoppage gets in the ring, and in 5 minutes, officially, TKO in the 3rd round. Masvidal over Nate Diaz. And they call the belt BMF, baddest motherfucker. And Nate Diaz is a much badder motherfucker. And then they had the Rock put the belt around. Like, listen, I love professional wrestling. The Rock. Let's have the Rock put the belt around Masvidal. So that was it. So that's what I say. It's like, well, as the card was unfolding, as you could tell by my excitement and then lack thereof, it's like, oh man, Anderson, Kevin Lee, there we go. So I mean, it's like there was like 1, 2, 3, 4 fights in a row that bored me, and 2 fights that were great, and the last fight was disappointing. Great card? No, not even close. Bad card? No. Good card? Yeah, good card. I'm Handsome Dick Manitoba reporting my opinions on the UFC last night. I forget what the fuck number, 244, 245. Who cares? Who cares? Go to my friggin' podcast now. You like that? 63 Corvette, baby. My little red Corvette. Go to my podcast. You don't know about Dick. Is that the name of it? What's the name of my podcast? You don't know Dick? I can't believe it. It's going to happen to you at your age, too. You'll see. You don't know Dick. That's the name of my podcast. You don't know Dick. Go there.